Howdy folks, and welcome to the middle of the week. It's Wednesday, so it's time to get on with things. You want to attack these gray pages chunk by chunk, and so that's my aim with these videos. So I'm going to get right into it by explaining to you that the gray pages here, this book has given us three different worldview clusters. Okay, we've got the traditional religious cluster, the naturalistic cluster, and the anti-realism cluster. Well, that one sounds fun, doesn't it? Well, I think that's where we are right now as a society. This one is really starting to take hold. But we're going to start with the traditional religious cluster, as I think it is probably the one that is most easy for us to understand. So Platonism. We start with this one because it's not the first by any means, but it is one that really I think the majority of us probably subscribe to, at least parts of it. It doesn't seem like a bad thing in and of itself, and hey, if you don't have God, why not subscribe to this one? I would actually prefer that most atheists do subscribe to this one because it helps me out the most. So the purpose, the problem, and the solution, right? The purpose is that the physical world is shadowy and flawed, okay? But the real world of the non-material realm of forms and ideals. The purpose of life is to know and live in accord with the perfect realm of ideals, all right? So you have these ideals that you should be adhered to, or should be at least chased after. Plato described 5 ideals, I believe, and he described how these ideals should be chased after. Well, you know, it doesn't seem like a bad thing, right? You want to be constantly improving yourself. You want to establish an ideal and then chase after that for your whole life, constantly bettering yourself. And this is a good thing, I think. It's really something that, as far as a man-made works point of view goes, I have to admit that I subscribe to this a lot more than I maybe thought or maybe wished I would. But I'm constantly trying to better myself. I'm constantly trying to let other people's reactions to me better myself. You can see this in what we talked about on Sunday, where I see other people's perceptions of me and try to make them more positive by acting a certain way, by being conscious of what I'm wearing. That seems like it fits pretty well into this worldview, right? Well, the solution is to educate people. Well, education is not always the solution, as we know, but education can solve a great many things. And the more educated we are, the more we can strive towards those ideals that we're educated towards. However, I have to say that I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of this falling into the realm of maybe re-education and the gulag. So let's move on to the many traditional religions. All right, well, the book just kind of classifies these as many traditional religions because on the whole, most religions are works-based. They're based on what you can do. They're based on how good you can be. Because, you know, the world that we have the eternal world and the temporal world. Well, obviously, we're supposed to be trying to get ready for the eternal world, right? Well, we do that by being as good as we can in the temporal world. Well, look at Hinduism and reincarnation. Man, can you imagine if the temporal world really was the eternal world? I don't know. There's a lot of flaws in that I see, and a lot of people go, "Oh, I kind of like the way that sounds," but let's, you know, we could discuss this a little bit further. But let's not. It doesn't sound that good to me. You can ask me about it on Sunday. So the solution is divine help, okay? Divine help is, you know, when we ask for gods, we ask for help from the gods, okay, to just try and be better. But you'll notice that there is no real redemption. There is no cleansing of the moral failures that we have. Well, I don't know why, because, you know, we need that, right? But if we don't have a true cleansing, then all we're doing is kind of trying to be good, and that doesn't always work out because we're fighting against our bodies, right? We're fighting against our physiological selves. We're fighting against our desire for pleasure and reaffirmation and just good feelings. This does not, again, as we discussed in Platonism, this does not always square with reason. right? Well, the heart is a treacherous thing. It is deceptive, deceives, and we have to really think through things, okay, to do this. The problem is that our logic gets flawed. So we need to call upon divine help, and our religious community can help us out with that, right? Christianity is not the only religion that commands us to be part of one, to try and help each other out, to prop each other up. And so this is where we kind of come in. But what separates us, of course, is a Savior. But we're not going to get to that yet because Christianity is the last worldview. So that pretty much covers these two. Well, I guess I'll see you back here tomorrow. Tune in.